So now that you've had a crash course in phonics principles, we're going to take a look at the how do we assess and try to figure out where are our kids? What's the work that our kids do do well, and what's the work that we need to continue to still do with them. So I've given you this link to assessment for upper grade phonics. We're in that folder, and I just want to show you around a little bit, show you what's there and give you my reasoning for these four assessments. So one of the things that we really want to do is we want to assess both how a student decodes, which is reading, right, words, and the student's ability to encode word, which is of course is writing. So, and we want to do that in a way, both of those, decoding and encoding. We want to do it in a way where we watch them what they do in isolation, and we watch them and what they do in context. So you have four tests here, four assessments in this folder that help you to do both of those. The phonics reading, you can see phonics reading in isolation. I'm just going to open this up for you so that you can see what it is. It has all the directions here, and I'm not going to read those out loud to you. That can be your work for this section. But what I'm going to show you is that this is the teacher's page, so that you will take notes on this page. And then what I want to show you is that it starts with silent E, so that it doesn't start with short vowel sounds. And it does do a little bit of blending. If you are thinking that you need short vowel sounds, I'll also add the kindergarten assessment into this folder as well. But this is the assessment that our phonics units use for first grade, but I'll put the earlier one in if you have to go earlier. So if you want to do both, it's very quick. You could actually do both the kindergarten and the first grade one, and they both look exactly like this. So what you'll notice is that it's the phonics principle. This is what you give the kids, and they read these words out loud. And you would keep track on your chart which words they read, and if they didn't read, what they said instead. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is that the next page also deals with silent E, but they're nonsense words. There are two schools of thought when it comes to having kids read nonsense words in isolation. And the research is fairly inconclusive on either side. So Teachers College decided to do an assessment with nonsense words. And I will tell you that using these with middle schoolers really gave me a nice picture of, are they recognizing the word because it's a word they've read before, which of course would be these words? And, and do they have the ability to decode words that are unfamiliar to them using the phonics principle? So I have been leaning a little towards the nonsense words because it really has given me a window into watching the reader try to figure the word out. I like that, especially because with our upper grade kids, we can't be sure if they're reading the word because they recognize it, because they've seen it so much, or because they understand the phonics principle. So I am appreciative of the nonsense words for upper grade kids. So again, if we went back to the teacher page, here it is, that silent E, and here are the nonsense words. So, and it goes along with that. Here's blending. Here's the kids' words, the regular words, nonsense words. Here is more blending, and it would be our controlled vowels. And there's the kids' words, and then there's the kids' nonsense words, and that's where this one stops. Multisyllabic is not on here, but it's not on here because, again, like I said in the last video, if you have these phonics principles, then we use those for multisyllabic. So we're checking each principle in this way. So this is the isolation decoding test, right? So we're reading words in isolation. Um, uh, the reading words in context, you will see it's not in this folder, and that's because you have running records to do that. Here's the thing. If you don't want to do a full-blown running record because you are just checking to see about the kids' idea of decoding for phonics principles, all you have to do is to take the read out loud part of any um, reading running record text, just the out loud part, and listen to them read out loud with that lens, only that lens, and perhaps make a chart like, letter sounds, CVC words, CVCE words, digraphs and blends, vowel teams, R controlled vowels, and to make, marks in that chart about what are they missing, what kinds of words are they missing, or just gather all the words they're missing as you're listening to them read 100 words. Even in their own books, you can just say, read to me, and you can listen with the lens of how are they decoding in context and taking notes on that. So I can add in this folder, I will add in this folder a chart that you could, kind of keep track of when you're listening, but you do not have to do a full-blown running record to do this work. You just need to listen to them. Just need to say, I'm going to sit alongside of you. I'm going to have you read about 100 words or so. Just read out loud so that I can gather the words that you need to decode, and to see how well you decode those, and to see if any of those decoding errors or those miscues follow a certain phonics principle pattern. Like, are you missing all of the R control vowel words, or are you missing a lot of the vowel team words, et cetera, et cetera. So remember that this phonics reading was in isolation, but the phonics decoding in context is a simple listen with a chart in front of you and jot down the words that they're missing to see the pattern of the kind of words they really need to work on. So that is encoding or decoding in isolation and in context. The next thing that you should be doing is encoding, writing in context and in isolation. So I've added two things here for you. The first thing I've added is a dictation. So I've written this paragraph, and in this paragraph, you have all phonics principles. You have CVC words, you have CVCE words, you have vowel team words, you have R controlled vowels, you have I hope you have things with inflected endings. Yeah, you have a few inflected endings. So you would read this paragraph. And the great thing about this is you can do this with all the kids that you think need phonics principle work, right? You can have them all in front of you and say, I'm going to read you this paragraph, and I want you to write it down. So I'm dictating to you. I want you to write the paragraph down. And so I just slowly say things like, that girl is really loud. And I wait. And I'll say it a couple more times. That girl is really loud. That girl is really loud. And I wait for them to write that sentence, and then I do that for the entire paragraph. And then when I collect those dictations, so let's pretend that this is somebody's dictation, I will go through and choose the words they misspelled. So let's say they misspelled here, and let's say they did this, and I will write the word how they spelled it, and then underneath it, I would put the way it should have been spelled. And you can do this in handwriting. It's much quicker to do it writing it, but I just want to show you how I do that. And then I would have a collection of those across my paper. And it allows me to see, like, oh, they're making mistakes encoding vowel teams, or they're making mistakes encoding R controlled vowels, or they're making mistakes encoding whatever. And so this would be encoding in context. It's a piece of writing where they're trying to write this paragraph that you are dictating to them. So that would be in context. And then, of course, we have to do an assessment in isolation as well, an encoding assessment in isolation spelling. It's just plain old spelling test. So I have put in here, and you all should have this, except for seventh and eighth grade. I don't think you have it, but this is the spelling inventory from Words Their Way. The great thing about it is that Words Their Way developmental spelling levels match phonics principles. Look at that, right? That's exactly why they, because kids typically encode in this, have struggles in encoding in spelling and which often matches the decoding problems they have in reading. So you will see that, we start out with, a CVC word, right? Right. And then a couple of blends, a couple of high frequency words. Here's lump, blend. And then we get into vowel teams. Then we get into CVCE words. So they've mixed those up. If we were thinking about our progression, CVCE words would come first. And then we have endings, right? And we have unusual vowel teams, right? We have R controlled vowels, some more endings, some unusual endings. Do you see how? This Words Their Way spelling inventory has all of the same phonics principles in it and will help us to know how they're decoding in isolation. And the great thing about this is then you can do a check over, and they have a grading sheet, which I can actually put in this folder as well. And when you write down all their mistakes, you can see the phonics principle or the spelling, developmental spelling level, which matches the phonics principle that they land in. And then the purpose of all four of these assessments is to look at the patterns that come out of all four. So in doing this with middle schoolers, I have noticed that, lots of sixth graders have trouble with CVCE words. They were misspelling them in their writing dictation. They misspelled them in their Words Their Way assessment. They misspelled them especially, or they misread them, especially when it came to the nonsense words. And they were struggling with them when it came to reading in context. And sometimes I would see that the students had more trouble encoding than they did decoding. Like they read them fine, but when it came to writing them, they didn't. That's going to happen, or the opposite's going to happen. They're going to have trouble decoding them, but encoding is fine too, but you'll still see patterns. And that is why this assessment is so essential. So how long will this assessment take? Like I said, I've been doing this with some middle schoolers, and the reading in isolation literally takes about 3 minutes. The phonics list, reading 100 words takes about 4 minutes or so. So that's 7 minutes total. The great thing about the writing in context and dictation is you can do them all at once. Takes about 15 minutes or so, but you can do everybody together. And then the other great thing is that you can do everyone together in that Words Their Way spelling in isolation. So again, about maybe 15 minutes. So it takes individually about 7 minutes per kid. And then you need about a half hour to do the writing part with all kids. So, you want to think about how you could plan that into your day and get this assessment done so that you absolutely are sure this is the targeted phonics skill that I'm going to work with these kids. This is the targeted phonics skill I'm going to work with these kids, that you are informed before you start. The last thing we want to do with our striving readers who are struggling in this area is to throw every phonics principle at them and hope something sticks. It needs to be targeted, and it needs to be something that is shared not only with you, but with the RTI teacher and with the kid, right? So that the kid is involved. Like you're the kind of kid that knows CVC words really well. Like you could identify all of these words. Look at all the words you could do. But so I think that you're ready for some CVCE words. Like I want to teach you this new thing. And we're going to work on silent E words for the next 2 weeks so that we can make sure that you get this thing. And then we're going to move on to this. involving the kids in their own goals and their own targeted skills, research shows is the best way for them to understand that they have work to do, but also to see it as goals that they can achieve with your help. So once you do all of this assessment, it's really important to communicate to parents, to kids, to the RTI teacher. This is what I'm working on, and I want all of us to do this together.